Good morning. Welcome back to the channel, folks. We are giving this first go, or this is the third one now, but the first one I feel like genuinely around busy people. So let's give it a go. We are in the city of Discovery. Where I grew up, that was the Tay rail bridge right there. Welcome to Dundee, Scotland. The Tay rail bridge. The Kingdom of Fife and the town of Wormit. "100 years of service on that one, on that little plaque right there. Low tide today. This is a major rail bridge from Scotland, or the north of Scotland, from Dundee, on the main sort of northeast line, going south towards Edinburgh. And if you don't take the rail bridge, the other side takes you sort of west towards Perth and Glasgow. If you look over, you can see just about here and here, you can see little extra stumps, and that is from the original rail bridge, and which fell back in the late 1700s, known as the Tay rail disasters, one of the worst disasters in UK railway history, where there was a train on a stormy night in December. I think it was 1789. I'll put it right here if I've got the date wrong. And I think it was like 180 people died, and those stumps are from the original railway bridge. So this is actually the upgrade. You used to have one, see how each one has got like two stumps. Each one just had one in the original, but now it's got two. We're taking a wee wander along what is known as Riverside Drive. It's the major walkway into town from the west side, going eastwards along the sort of the mouth of the Tay, or the side of the Tay. And we're going to hit a few of the tourist spots, show you them. Also talk a little bit about the history of Dundee. Maybe see new things, some old things. And actually why it's a little bit underrated as a city. And at the same time talk about why maybe actually Dundonians are their own worst enemies of talking the city down as a whole. Now, it's famous for Dundee as the City of Discovery, known for its 3 J's. I'm going to add another 2. First one, its major industries in its sort of incline was in jute, which was like potato sacks, which I've mentioned in a previous video. There's lots of jute factories in the Industrial Revolution that created jute sacks for like potatoes and products, and it was shipped around the whole world. This was like one of the biggest exporters of jute sacks and other jute products, Dundee. Jam along the Tay, both north side and south side in Fife, is actually prime conditions for some of the best soft fruits or summer fruits in the UK. It's well known for raspberries, strawberries, and blackberries, or as what we call them, brambles. And believe it or not, even marmalade is famous from Dundee, as legend has it. During the jute industry, there were some Seville oranges that came over accidentally landed on the shore, falling off a boat, And a Dundee lady, after knowing how to make jam, decided to try and see if they could make orange jam, and thus became marmalade. So jam, and the last one, or the official one, is journalism. Known to DC Thomson, publishers of local newspapers, but also famous comic books such as Dennis the Menace, and all famous characters from that, Desperate Dan, etc., the Beano, and even Ur Willie. So we're going to see those three. And then the other two are some more modern times. First one, there's a big gaming community nowadays in Dundee after those industries have sort of gone. Big gaming community, so Joystick. University of Abertay has a computer games design. It's one of the biggest sort of technological advancements in technological industries. And one of the main games companies, Rockstar, has offices in Edinburgh, to the south, and also in Dundee. So it's known for gaming and computer games design. And the last G, well, that's me. The Tay Road Bridge, the Tay Rail Bridge. Now, one of the other things that I want to try and highlight in this video, vlog, whatever you want to call it, is Dundee used to be a massive industry town. As I mentioned, those several J's. The other big thing it was famous for, obviously back in the day, was shipbuilding. Not as big as Glasgow. The other thing was whaling. You know, whale oil. Well, I always remember that whale oil, before finding oil in the North Sea, whale oil was used to use your street lights to light them up. And then, yeah, so somebody went round every morning putting them on, and somebody went round every evening putting them off. Now, I always think about the little thing that Dumbledore flicks in Harry Potter, and he flicks them all off and the street lights go off, and then he flicks them back on and it goes on. There was literally guys in the 18th and 19th century doing that. Well, whale oil was also made here. Now, as I've mentioned in previous things, there is also a feeling that Dundee is in decline. And I want to sort of highlight two things. One, it's a great place. Two, the structural and infrastructural vandalism that has happened in the last 100 years from what used to be an incredible place. And, well, there's been this regeneration, or proposed generation, that is still in the process. So it's coming back. And I want to highlight both the positives and the negatives in this video. Locally sourced shopping trolleys. It's quite low tide today. Weirdly, it's an easterly wind coming up off the North Sea. Now, usually it's coming from directly behind us up the river, out the mouth of the river to, into the North Sea. It's usually prevailing wind sort of like southwest. Now, I've said in previous videos, Dundee usually gets some of the best weather in Scotland, primarily because of the Gulf Stream coming up, wet and warm weather, and then creating rain on the west coast. For example, Glasgow gets just around about 1,400 millimetres worth of annual rainfall a year, whereas in Dundee gets around about half of that. So much better climate over this side, and actually gets a bit more sunlight as well. Now, what have I got here? the road bridge over to the mighty Kingdom of Fife. Now, two of the major tourist attractions, we've got the V&A, which you may have seen before. Looks like a ship, and then you've seen the mast there of the RRS Discovery. Just gonna have a wee look. Big positive Dundee is that you can get to, within 2 hours of driving, to 90% of all the population of the whole country. Within 2 hours drive. Within an hour and a half you can get to pretty much all the major cities, bar Inverness. You've got Aberdeen to the north, Perth to the west, and Glasgow and Edinburgh, Dunfermline and Stirling to the south. Now the other good thing about that, if you do not want to use road, this is Dundee train station with the new Sleepers Hotel. Doors just in the front there. About 5 minutes walk through that direction, diagonally through, you get to Dundee bus station. And as I said, about 5 minutes walk at the start of this video, you're at Dundee Airport. And you can get to all of the cities, vast majority of the population, within 2 hours. So if you were ever thinking of somewhere to actually like base your site, if you were coming for an extended period, Dundee is actually a very good site to be. And they do direct buses from that hotel just there. See that tower there? Opposite side of the road. This one right here. That tower there, the older one. That's the Malmaison. Outside the Malmaison, there is the Fly Direct bus. That takes direct bus. It's an hour and 15 minutes to Edinburgh Airport. And I mean, it's about 100 yards, 200 yards from the RRS Discovery and the V&A. Be open to the joy you deserve. To the east, some Dundee oil rigs. Fife to the south. Newport-on-Tay. Good view up here. Look at this guy. Dundee. Forth Road. Railroad. Tay. See you later. See ya. V&A, folks. One of my favourite signs across the whole world. And it's this. Be excellent to each other, folks. Be excellent to each other. This boat sailed to the Antarctic, guys. Now, all of the last 30 years, well, it's now 25 years into this 30-year project, is known as the Dundee Waterfront Regeneration Project. And the V&A is the main site of that, but all the rest of this is actually, as you've probably already seen, is flat, reclaimed land. And we've got the Tay road bridge just right there. And yeah, so all of this has been redeveloped in sort of like the last 10, 15 years. Apart from the only thing that hasn't moved has been the Discovery, the boat itself. It was, when I was growing up, at the Discovery Point, as it's known, was part of, like, it just opened in around about 2000. And where the V&A is, actually used to be the Olympia, Dundee City Council's main swimming pool, with flumes. And yeah, we went swimming there all the time. And actually where this sort of car park bit here was actually the original sort of Dundee Hilton Hotel. So you would sort of stay here, go to Olympia, go to the Olympia, the Discovery, and you could stay in town. But now, well, it's the V&A Museum. The only V&A museum outside of London. Victoria and Albert, obviously. And yeah, so it's a major regen project here, trying to bring tourism to the city centre. Mentioned whaling earlier. Don't know if you can see that at the moment. New sculpture. If you squint, the nose, if you squint, the fins, they're right at the very bottom. The tail right there. Little park here for kids. And the beach. I mean, given it's always glorious weather in Dundee all the time, who wouldn't want to come to the beach right in the centre of town? I remember being in Cairns in Australia and it was 27 degrees in winter. Winter 27 degrees. That was July. We're now about 10 days out from summer and it's a balmy 10 degrees today. It had an urban beach. Obviously it's school day today, so there's no kids playing in it at this moment in time. But, I mean, it's reasonably cool. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, I mentioned it earlier, was this sort of regen and at the same time the vandalism and destruction of infrastructure within Dundee City itself. There we go. Waterfront place we're at. Now, great feat obviously with the road bridge. But prior to the road bridge, in the 1960s, prior to it, there was known what was called the Victoria Arch. I think that was what it's called. If it's not what it's called, I'll put the real name right here. And I might even put a photo of it up on this video. The Victoria Arch was a commemorative arch built in the 19th century as a way to honour and commemorate Victoria. And the site of the arch, if you go and Google it, folks, the site of the arch was there. Now, if you go and Google it, you'll see it's actually a beautiful structure. And it was commemorate, I think either people coming from the war or lost soldiers, the Queen coming to the city, Industrial Revolution. It was a few things, and I think it was all like funded by Dundee Trades. Here we go, we're underneath the rail bridge, the road bridge. I keep calling it the rail bridge for some reason today. I usually just call it the bridge. And one of the major factors of demolishing it was for the new road bridge to Fife. Previously there were some boats that if you lived over there you would boat across in the morning, or you would have to go over to Wormit to get the train to get over on the bridge into town. This connected the south to Dundee. So it was a major feat. It was a major necessary, but it was another major piece of recognisable infrastructure within Dundee that was demolished. Alongside the major train station, alongside major schools, and yeah, the vibe that I have of Dundee itself, it's for some reason there is this sort of like self-loathing of there's these beautiful architecture. We used to build things. It's my grandpa, who's not from here, but he would say, we built ships. We built ships. And I mean, we built those cool rail bridges. We built this cool road bridge. We built the Discovery, that's why it's here. And now we just build these sort of like concrete blocks. We built a castle on the right here. We zoom in, Bright Ferry Castle. Now we just build these concrete blocks. Here's the definition of progress, folks. Old, cultured buildings of the times, and then concrete flats. I know it's not specifically just Dundee that's in this phase, it's like a broader culture. But, for some reason, since the 1950s, there's been this distinct weird, if you look at it from a historical point, there is a pattern of behaviour on a societal level or a community level or a governmental level of let's destroy what's beautiful, let's destroy what keeps the communities together, and let's build either nothing or something that's inferior to what was already there. Now, as you can see with the Tay Road Bridge, there was like it could have been built somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, we've got the whole river. Alright, it didn't have to be built exactly where the Victoria Arch was. Anyway, let's move on. Some youths learning to work on a massive paddleboard by the looks of it. I actually don't even know what that boat's called. But it's cool, isn't it? Name of boat. Bing! Right there. The one I want to come and show you. Look at this beauty. The HMS Unicorn. Frigate Unicorn. It's one of the 6 oldest boats, original boats, in the world, and it's the oldest ship in Scotland. Constructed actually elsewhere in 1824, but was moved up to the late 1800s to Dundee and conducted like training exercises all the way up to the 60s. The most original ship in the world. And it's fallen apart, folks. Formed by condition and surveys and research to understand the Yukon's condition, work has already begun in phase 1 of the work. work will restore strength to unicorn's hull and thereby improve her resilience at her current berth, ready for our planned move to the nearby East Graving dry dock. We've even got moss and weeds coming out of the... It's actually got gutters. This boat has got gutters. Anyway, because it's old, and it's actually one of the oldest ships in the world, it should be preserved. We're going to try and make it a visitor centre rather than being in water. You can see the sort of patchwork it's needing already. Like, they're worried that it's actually going to sink. So they're hopefully... I mean, look how cool that is. I remember playing a concert in there. Oh, it must be about 15, 20 years ago. Not going in today. But it's definitely worthwhile. What they're going to try and do, where it is at the moment, they're going to put it into this dock right here, which is the East Graven dry dock. Or they're going to make it a dry dock. Water in it at the moment. And they're going to make this the visitor centre. So they're going to make it sort of similar like the Discovery that we saw earlier. So we can keep it for the masses. I mean, this ship protected our waters, protected our lands, folks, for over 150 years. Least we could do. And it's on my doorstep. That's the nuts thing. It's like all these, when you're growing up, all these sort of major things, or major sites and important pieces of architecture and infrastructure and cultural sensibilities, they're like, you just think that they're all really important ones are like further away. But like, this is right here. This is right here. It's one of the oldest boats in the world. It's right here. And barely 50 yards away, we're into what feels like the 1990s. Travellers, not joking. Now, we're looking east again. Broughty Ferry over that side. And a major part of it, we've got the oil rig stuff, and then just round the corner, actually I should have showed you earlier, was the Dundee Gasworks. Yet again, closed. Yet again, massive infrastructure back in the day for importing gas from the North Sea into Scotland and creating it for the homes, for cooking and central heating and other uses, both commercially and residentially, in the country. Now shut. Given the current circumstances of the Strait of Hormuz, it seems like we've shot ourselves in the foot yet again. But if you are well known of conservationist stuff, the Eden project, which is in Cornwall, is this where they've taken an old industrial site and want to regenerate it into a sort of rural hybrid and tourist attraction. The second Eden project in the world is going to be here in Dundee on the gasworks. Going to take out the main cylinder building, and it's going to be sort of like visitor centre, museum, greenhouse, green spaces. I'm going to completely regenerate the whole land. So there's actually an office in Dundee at the moment on works into it, and it's sort of the second jewel of this regeneration project. Now, the first thing that you've probably seen is that this stuff, like, I've been walking on just completely flat land. And, well, this land for, certainly, if you look through all the way over there, like a good 500 yards all the way into town, it's all reclaimed land. And this was back prior to the industrialisation of Dundee. It became a major hub, as I said, for the major industries. Jute, jam, journalism, and we needed more docks that were deeper and more infrastructure, more housing to provide the services and to build businesses in the city. And that's why sort of 500 yards in from town, the city was enlarged. So all of this has been built, certainly the land area part of it has been built within the last sort of 150, 200 years. So Dundee has moved south ever so slightly. And you can always tell the difference between what is real and what is fake. Because if you, at the start of this video, there's actually the Bridgeview station. If you're sitting there having a coffee outside, you can actually feel the rumble and the shaking of the ground, because it's almost hollow. Or it certainly feels hollow anyway. Whereas if it was on like proper rock, you wouldn't feel a thing. We're back at the bridge. So about 10 minutes south, and we'll definitely do a video about this place, St Andrews. In between St Andrews is RAF Lookers, or what was RAF Lookers. I think it's now run by the Army, and it's the major eastern airport runway for British military. And both on this coast, both north and south of the Tay, they thought would be a major sort of stumbling block for the Germans in the 40s during the Second World War. Here's the boys up the bridge working. I'm going to just show you this again. So, south there, we've actually got a major box for spying U-boats and other German stuff. And then further south around the corner is Tensmuir, and then we've got RAF Lookers. Nowadays, it's used by the Army, and yeah, major in part for defending the east coast of Scotland. The road bridge opened by Her Majesty the Queen Mother. Respect.